Let us for a few moments think of the Divine Spirit in the heart and pray for peace and prosperity. Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Stapakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharmasvarupine Stapakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharmasvarupine Avadharavarishthaya Ramakrishna Te Namah. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma mritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us bow down to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God Incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. Sri Ramakrishna's teachings we are discussing in these Tuesday classes. Sri Ramakrishna has very clearly stated that we should never forget our spiritual aspect. We have got spiritual dimension. We must be fully aware of it, and our focus must be on that spiritual unfoldment. Whatever the activities we are doing in the world, they are all of secondary importance. If you forget this spiritual dimension, if by chance you are negligent or careless about your spiritual aspect of life, the result would be you would be crushed by the worldly things and worldly activities. That is, you are bound to suffer. You cannot get rid of suffering unless you pay attention to your spiritual unfoldment. So Sri Ramakrishna has explained this idea, giving the example of a countryside woman while preparing flattened rice. She was dealing with husking machine. In one hand she is holding her child and she is transacting the business with the customers. She is doing all these things simultaneously, but her whole attention is on the pestle so that her hand is not crushed while pounding. So, giving this analogy, Sri Ramakrishna explains, 25% of your mind must be given to the mind, 25% of your mind must be given to the world, 75% must be given to spiritual life. Then you will see how you really enjoy the real happiness, peace, and joy. So, dealing with this subject, we discussed about different levels of mind. Ordinarily speaking, there are 4 levels: Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, Turiya. Waking state, dreamless state, and transcendental state. Sri Ramakrishna tells there is a higher even than that. That is the 5th level of the mind, which he refers to as Vijnana. Jnana means knowledge. Vijnana means perfect knowledge. It's very interesting. It is not that, oh, you have the vision of God and it is over. But Sri Ramakrishna says, it's all right. You might be experiencing immense joy by the vision of God. It's wonderful. But you must know there is still higher state than that. That is the state of Vijnana, which I am trying to discuss about more points in today's class. Vijnana is a state, I said it is the 5th level. Turiya state is the 4th level. It's a state of communion with God. In the dreamless state, mind is drowned but not destroyed. It has potential power to come back to dream and then to waking state, the lower levels of mind. Whereas in the 4th state, which I was referring to as Turiya state, Samadhi takes place, where all the impressions are burnt in the fire of knowledge. Here, God, the ever-present, omnipotent, alone remains. Mind meets death along with its cause. Now the 5th level, Vijnana, all the religions speak of liberation as the summum bonum of life, but a few mystics are concerned with a stage higher than that. And Sri Ramakrishna is disclosing that, and he himself had experienced Vijnana, so he is sharing that knowledge with the spiritual aspirants. So, in this state of Vijnana, it is completely different level of mind, and it is superior to the 4 states which we mentioned just now. And Vijnana is the 5th level of mind, a state which is attained by the incarnations of God. They are born in this world with a special mission. So if they are in perpetual samadhi, how can they teach humanity? At the same time, they must have the knowledge of the Supreme. They must be fully aware of what they are, and at the same time they should be able to transmit that knowledge to the spiritual aspirants. So, a jnani means a knower of Brahman, Vijnani means perfect knower of Brahman, as opposed to a knower of Brahman. There is a subtle difference. And Sri Ramakrishna says that there is a stage beyond even the knowledge of Brahman. You know, Totapuri, the Guru of Sri Ramakrishna, who initiated Sri Ramakrishna into non-dualistic meditation. And Sri Ramakrishna got the realization in 3 days, for which Sri Ramakrishna's Guru Totapuri worked for 40 years. And he was amazed to see that. And he was very happy to have such wonderful disciple. But then, though he had the knowledge of Brahman, Totapuri, his knowledge was not complete. Sri Ramakrishna had to lead him to higher knowledge, which I am stating it as Vijnana, which Sri Ramakrishna tells it as Vijnana. That is, after Jnana comes Vijnana. Now, a question arises here. What's the nature of Jnana that is spoken of here? Is it the absolute identity with Brahman? Do you call it as Jnana? Sri Ramakrishna says, to know by one's inner experience that God exists, he has no doubts whatsoever. When he reaches that state of firm conviction that God is there, he is present, that's called jnana. Just as the awareness and conviction that fire exists in wood is jnana, knowledge. Sri Ramakrishna explains the meaning of the realization of God and God vision very nicely. In a very simple way, Sri Ramakrishna clarifies all these ideas. There are 4 groups. One is Pravartaka, second one is Sadhaka, third one is Siddha, and fourth one is Siddha of Siddhas. Now, who is Pravartaka? He who has just set foot on the path, just he has entered into spiritual realm. He is called Pravartaka. The first awakening comes to me. Here is my spiritual life. I must start my life. And he starts spiritual life with all earnestness, with all sincerity. He is called Pravartaka. The second one, he who has for some time been practicing spiritual disciplines such as worship, japa, meditation, chanting of God's name and glories. He is doing all these things very zealously, with great optimism, with great hope. He is called sadhaka. Second. The third one, he who has known from his inner experience that God exists is called a Siddha, a perfect one. Siddha means perfect. Vedanta explains this through an analogy. The master of the home is sleeping in a dark room. Someone is groping in the darkness to find the master. He touches the couch and says, "No, it is not he." He touches the window and says, "No, it is not he." He touches the door, it's all done in the darkness, pitch dark, and says, "No, it is not he." This is known in the Vedanta as the process of neti, neti, neti. Not this, not this, not this. At last, his hand touches the master's body and he exclaims, "Here he is." In other words, he is now conscious of the existence of the master. He has found him, but he does not yet know him intimately. This is the state of a person who is called Siddha. Another one, Siddha of Siddhas. The supremely perfect one who has not only realized God but also has become intimate with Him. He talks with Him all the time as father, son or beloved. Sri Ramakrishna used to do that. Every day he would go and talk to Divine Mother. When Totapri, Sri Ramakrishna's Guru, wanted to give him sannyas in order to practice non-dualism, Sri Ramakrishna says, wait, I will take permission from my mother. Who was that mother? Do you think he went to his earthly mother? No, he went to Mother Kali. That means it was so natural for him. He could talk every day, he could see every day. And he had her vision all the time. Anyway, from all these sayings, we should understand Jnani is indeed a knower of Brahman. No doubt he is a liberated soul from the Vedantic standpoint. From him the delusion of Maya is vanished. Now, when a person has reached this state, Sri Ramakrishna explains there is a stage further. The aim of Jnani is to know the nature of his own soul. Who am I? What is this? This probing inside, inquiring as to who exactly he is, that is knowledge. When he finds the answer to his question, who is he is liberated. That's called liberation. The true nature of the self is that it is the Supreme Brahman. I, the individual consciousness, and the Supreme Brahman are one and the same. Now, Vijnani goes further and excels in realizations. He not only realizes the existence of Brahman in himself, but positively sees that Brahman has become manifested in things and beings. That's really remarkable achievement. Vijnani always sees God. He sees God even with his eyes open. The Jnani reasons about the world through the process of not this, and finally reaches the eternal and indivisible Satchidananda, existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute. He reasons Brahman is not the living beings, it is neither the universe nor all these cosmic principles. So he is negating one by one. As a result of such reasoning, finally he attains the absolute. Then he realizes that it is the absolute that has become all this, the universe, its living beings, and all the cosmic principles. So, what has happened is first negation, then affirmation. Take for instance, Sri Ramakrishna tells this, a bell fruit. It includes flesh, seeds and shell. All these put together is called a bell fruit. You get the flesh by discarding the shell and the seeds. But if you want to know the weight of the fruit, you can't find it if you discard the shell and the seeds. Just so, one should attain Satchidananda, the absolute Brahman, by negating the universe and its living beings. But after the attainment of Satchidananda, one finds the Satchidananda itself has become the universe and the living beings. It is of one substance that the flesh and the shell and seeds are made, just like butter and buttermilk. Sri Ramakrishna then says, what is Vijnana? He explains very clearly, Vijnana is knowing God in a special way. That is the fifth level of the mind. First one is Jagratavastha. Second is Swapnavastha. Third is Sushuptavastha. Fourth is Turiyavastha. Fifth is the state of Vijnana. That is knowing God in a special way. To cook rice on the fire, eat the rice and get nourishment from it is Vijnana. To talk to God, to enjoy Him as child, as friend, as master, as beloved is Vijnana. The realization that God alone has become the universe and all living beings. What is all this? What I am seeing? Everything is nothing but God and God alone. That knowledge is called Vijnana. The Upanishad also says, one of the major Upanishads, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it says, Atmani eva atmanam pashyati, sarvam atmanam pashyati. He sees the self in his own self, that is, in his body. He sees all as the self. Again, there is another scripture, Srimad Bhagavata, very famous one. It also deals with the spiritual matters very emphatically. There Bhagavan says, Sarva bhuteshu yaf pashyet bhagavad bhavamatmanaha bhutani bhagavatyatmanyesha bhagavatottamaha. He who sees Atman in all beings and all beings in the Atman is the devotee par excellence. Now, Jnani realizes Brahman in its undifferentiated form. In the state of nirvikalpa samadhi, that is a state of non-differentiation, he is said to be one with spirit. Here, the distinction between subject and object vanishes. World of name and form exists no more. What remains is awareness of the self. This state of mind has been extolled by Sri Ramakrishna as Nitya. He calls one as Nitya, the other as Leela. Nitya is the culminating stage of all knowledge. The ego here merges in the absolute, and the body drops off like a tattered leaf after a few days. That's what happens when a person attains to nirvikalpa samadhi. The word Leela ordinarily means play. And in Vedanta, it means creation, the world, diverse states and forms. All these manifested things, what we see, they all come under Leela. Creation presupposes a creator. He who is conscious of the world must be existing in the plane of duality. You must accept duality when you are in this relative world. Apparently, the state of creation has been signified as determinate, finite, multifarious with names and forms, as opposed to the indeterminate, infinite unity of the transcendent. Reality is presented in these two principal stages. That is, Brahman accompanied by the play of Maya and Brahman devoid of play. In its Nitya aspect, Brahman has been compared to a snake coiled up, and Leela to the same snake in motion. A snake coiled up is as good a snake as that in motion. There is virtually no difference in reality but for the difference of states. A snake in motion does not lose its reality. Similarly, a snake coiled up is no addition to its status. The world is not to be taken as unreal because it is a play of Maya. For it is Brahman who exists in and through these playful states. This state is neither false nor illusory. Now, Vijnana, it blends Nitya and Leela. To the ordinary man, the world is a multiplicity, and multiplicity must be unreal, false. That's why sadhaka applies the process of negation, rejects the Leela, and attains the Nitya, the transcendental state. That's called Nitya. After realization of Brahman, there is someone who by divine grace retains a semblance of I, a purified ego, and comes down to the state in order to teach humanity. He comes to the state of play, to the creation, together with the essence of transcendental state. Herein lies the germ of Vijnana. He sees the world not as mere play, not as mere creation, but sees divinity in and through. This may be said to be a third category. One is Nitya, another is Leela, and this is the third one. A category which falls neither in Leela nor in Nitya, but a blend of the two. That is the third category. It contains the essence of the two states minus their defects. Ego is retained here, no doubt, but it is not the ordinary worldly ego. It is a spiritualized ego. The eye of Vidya, knowledge, plays here. The eye of knowledge. Sri Ramakrishna says, there are some who come down, as it were, after attaining the knowledge of Brahman, after Samadhi, and retain the ego of knowledge or ego of devotion. Just as there are people who of their own sweet will stay in the marketplace after the market breaks up. Sri Ramakrishna tells that. This was the case with sages like Narad, Shuka. There are great sages are there. Even now, they are there. They are not dead. They have not left their bodies. They are here to show guidance to the advanced spiritual aspirants. There was a particular aspirant in Bangalore, in India, from where I come from. He used to communicate with rishis, sages. It's amazing. Monthly once or at a certain point of time he would make publicity, he would make people understand, and he would say that he would contact the rishis on such and such a particular day, etc. And if you study the life of Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya, the great acharyas who advocated the Vedanta philosophy, they saw Vyasa Maharshi. Shankaracharya saw Vyasa Maharshi, Madhvacharya saw his, and he explained his comments on the Upanishads and Gita to the Vyasa Maharshi, got his approval. So these sages are there to highlight the spiritual knowledge. This serves two purposes. First, the teaching of men, and second, the enjoyment of divine bliss, participation in the divine sport in the world. The characteristic of Leela is that it is always dubbed as illusory, for it deals with name and form. But the Upanishad says, Neha nanasti kinchana. There is no differentiation in Brahman. Nitya is acclaimed as the final state. It has got no variety, no diversity. There is no I to enjoy the realization of consciousness. The diversity, multiplicity of the Leela, minus its illusory appellation, combined with the spiritual core of the Nitya, makes the vision of Vijnana possible. Neither he is said to be existing in the world, nor he appears to have merged in the transcendental state, but he is said to remain in a state from which he perceives the world of differentiation of name and form through the glass of spirit. Vijnana is that superior form of knowledge. He who has attained that state does not remain absorbed in the state of samadhi always, but comes down to the plane of ordinary world for the good of humanity. You can study the life of Sri Ramakrishna himself. How many times he would come down from the highest state of samadhi. He would by force he would say, I want to drink water. Something should be there to pull it down, to bring down the mind Some desire should be there, otherwise mind will not come down. So he would forcefully he would say, I want to drink water. And mind would come down as if pulled by that idea. So he would come down and give spiritual teachings. So Sri Ramakrishna explains this wonderful vision, how this state of Vijnana, how he experienced it himself. That's remarkable. He says, and he acknowledges Divine Mother. She showed me that everything was full of consciousness. The image was consciousness, the altar was consciousness, the water vessels were consciousness, the door sill was consciousness, the marble floor was consciousness, all was consciousness. The utensils of worship, the altar, the door frame, all pure spirit. Men, animals and other living beings, all pure spirit. He got that experience. The vision of Vijnana is a unique one and a spiritual realization par excellence. And Sri Ramakrishna says there is that state. That is called the fifth level of the mind. Mind still is there. In order to have that vision, let us continue this topic in the next Tuesday class. Page 576. Kedar and several devotees stood up. They were about to return home. Kedar saluted the master and bade him goodbye. Master said, should you go away without bidding other goodbye? Wouldn't that be an act of discourtesy? Kedar replied, when God is pleased, the world is pleased. You are staying, so in a sense we are all staying. I am not feeling well. Besides, I am a little nervous about my social conventions. Once before I had trouble with our community. Vijaya, pointing to the master, said, should we go away and leave him here? Just then Adar came in to take the master to the dining room, for the meal was ready. Sri Ramakrishna stood up and said, addressing Kedar and Vijay, come with me. They followed him and partook of the dinner together with the other devotees. After dinner, they all returned to the drawing room where the devotees sat around the master. Kedar said to him with folded hands, please forgive me for hesitating to eat here. Perhaps the thought had come to his mind that he should not have hesitated, since the master himself had no scruples about eating at others' house. Kedar worked at Dhaka. Many devotees brought offerings of sweets and other food for him. Referring to this, Kedar said to the master, people want to give me food. What should I do? Lord, what is your command in this matter? Master said, one can eat food even from an untouchable if the untouchable is a devotee of God. After spending 7 years in a God-intoxicated state of Dakshineshwar, I visited Kamarpakkur. Oh, what a state of mind I was in at that time. Even a prostitute fed me with her own hands, but I can't allow that now. Kedar was about to take his leave. Kedar in a low voice said, Lord, please transmit power to me. Many people come to me. What do I know? Master said, everything will be all right. One gets along well if one is sincerely devoted to God. Yogendra, the editor of Bengal paper, Bangavashi, entered the room. The conversation turned to the personal God and God without form. Master said, God has form. Again, he is formless. How many aspects he has? We can't comprehend him. Why should we say that God is formless only? Yogendra said, that's the one amazing thing about the Brahma Samaj. There, even a boy 12 years old sees God as formless. The members of the Adi Samaj do not object very much to God with form. They are allowed to attend ritualistic worship if it takes place in respectable families. Master said smilingly, how nicely he has put it. even a boy sees the formless God. Other said, Shivanath Babu does not believe in God's forms. Vijaya said, that is his mistake, pointing to the master. As he says, the chameleon assumes different colors. Now this color, now that. Only the man who lives under the tree knows the animal's true color. While meditating, I saw images of gods painted on a canvas. How many gods? How many different things they said? I said to myself, I shall go to the master. He will explain it all to me. Master said, you saw correctly. Kedar said, God assumes forms for the sake of his devotees. Through ecstatic love, a devotee sees God with form. Dhruva had a vision of the Lord. He said, why don't your earrings move? The Lord said, they will move if you move them. Master said, one must accept everything. God with form and God without form. While meditating in the Kali temple, I noticed Ramani, a prostitute. I said, Mother, I see that thou art in that form too. Therefore I say one must accept everything. One doesn't know when or how God will reveal himself. The master sang, a mendicant has come to us, ever absorbed in divine moods. Vijay said, God has infinite power. Can he not reveal himself in any form he chooses? Man is a speck of dust, and he dares come to a conclusion about God. How amazing. Master said, a man reads a little of the Gita, the Bhagavad, or the Vedanta and thinks he has understood everything. Once an ant went to a hill of sugar. One grain of sugar filled its stomach, and it was returning home with another grain in its mouth. On the way, it said to itself, next time I go, I shall bring home the whole hill. That concludes the chapter. Very interesting subject. So, develop your spiritual dimension. Simply eating, drinking, sleeping, doing, going. What do you gain finally? Big zero. So, you have to work wholeheartedly towards achieving the spiritual goal. Then your life is worth. There is a continuity of life. Whatever stage you have stopped, in the next life you start from that stage onwards. Don't think, I am gone, finished, my life is gone. No, how can you say that? You have done so many things, good and bad. Can you say it's all over? You may say it's over for your convenience, but there is divine spirit guiding. See, you have to have satisfaction. You have to have the experience of the reality. Until then, you have to keep on coming, going, coming, going, coming, going. Suffering, suffering, suffering. Then go out of suffering. There are two ways. One is to go through suffering, to cross the suffering. The other way is not to enter into the channel of suffering at all. Thoughts about whatever practice you are doing, do it honestly, sincerely, God will enlighten. And finally you will be endowed with knowledge. When knowledge comes, you are full of bliss. Any question? Yeah, Jivan Mukti is a state where one has to realize his nature while living. That is, liberation of your true self from all the illusions. That's called a state of Jivan Mukti. And Jivan Mukti, as I said earlier, in order to reach that state, you have to negate the things, follow the path of negation, reach the reality. That's called Jivan Mukti. And Mukti is, really speaking, to absorb oneself perpetually. That is, you don't feel like coming back from that state of highest bliss. That is the state of samadhi which I said, which occurs when you are in a state of turiya. But then I said incarnations and some special jivas, again by the inscrutable power of the Supreme God, even though they had attained that highest state of experience, yet they want to share that joy with the people at large. So They create their I consciousness. They want to create their ego. But that, again, as Sri Ramakrishna said, it's a semblance of ego. It's not the harmful ego which we are all having. It's a harmless I. It's a spiritual I. The I which is full of love and affection, which wants to reach all the people, help the people to come to spiritual life. That's the state of Vijnana. Because generally there are many people say, oh, one gets liberation, keep on practicing, after death you will realize. After death you will realize, it may be true, but how do I know? If you realize while you are living, then it's something you are different. Oh, I realized it. But is it possible to reach that? It is possible. Are there people? There were. Ramana Maharshi, for example, in the modern times, a great saint. He had realized the truth, and he experimented upon himself and found out who was he. And then he realized, I am Brahmasmi, I am that Brahman. Then he was always peaceful and blissful. Finished. State of perpetual joy. How to know? Go and see him. You will know. So that is the thing. Spiritual illumination means person who is always cheerful. That is the characteristic nature of the real soul. Now the point is, I don't know whether you are aware of what I read just now. See, Vijaya Goswami had visions of various gods and goddesses, and he was puzzled, and he came to Sri Ramakrishna and asked, I saw so many visions of gods and goddesses. When I sit for meditation, I saw them. Is it all true? Then Sri Ramakrishna said, it is true, he said. And God has infinite forms. What is there? It's God's glory. But in order to realize the truth, you have to hold on to one God so that you can arrive at the conclusion. Otherwise, mind gets distracted. Today you are going to Ganesha, tomorrow you are going to Rama, day after tomorrow you are going to Krishna, another day you go to Shiva, another day you go to Vishnu. That means your concentration is not concentrated enough. It becomes diluted. So what happens is mind gets in a way distracted. So you will not be able to achieve anything in that fashion. On the other hand, you may end up in some kind of doubts and things, whether this is true, whether that is true, like that. The point is, whatever forms that come, they are all these different forms of the same God whom you are worshipping. Suppose you are worshipping Lord Shiva. All gods and goddesses, they are all his own forms. Finished. One line, period. Just put them all into Sri Lord Shiva. If you hold Sri Ramakrishna as God, put everything into him. Whatever that comes, don't hold on to yourself anything. Don't hold on to yourself anything. That's the way. Over. Chant the name of the Lord and his glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be viper clean, and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust, raging furiously within. O name, stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself. O self, drown deep in the waves of his bliss, tasting his nectar at every step, bathing in his name, that bath for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord. In each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is measuredness. Who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name? O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass. Be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and Soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or revenue, the playthings of lust or the toys of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy, consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Oh, how I long for that day when instant separation from Thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without Thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at Thy feet let me be, in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of Thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of Thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O Thou who stealest Thy hearts of Thy devotees, do with me what Thou wilt, for Thou art my heart's beloved, Thou and Thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere, may all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous attain tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bonds, may the freed make others free. May good betide all people, may the sovereign righteously rule the earth, may all beings ever attain what is good, may the worlds be prosperous and happy. May the clouds pour rain in time, may the earth be blessed with crops, may all countries be freed from calamity, may holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied. For He being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.